the Greek word apostolos. It's a Greek word that just means sent one. That's where we get a transliteration. Apostolos, we get apostle. But that word means a sent one, a messenger, an ambassador. In its most technical New Testament sense, it speaks about the men personally chosen, trained, and commissioned by Jesus. In Acts chapter 1, verse 21 to 22, we see one of the qualifications for these men was they had to have seen the risen Lord Jesus with their eyes. They're trying to find someone to replace Judas, and they have to find somebody who's seen the risen Lord Jesus with their own eyes. And they were then authorized to speak in his name and lay the church's foundations. Bob read for us a few moments ago from Ephesians chapter 2. Did you pick up the language in Ephesians 2 verse 20? Speaking about the church, Paul wrote and said, it's built on the foundation of what? The apostles and prophets. Jesus Christ himself being the cornerstone. So together, the apostles and the prophets, they form a once-for-all foundation. They're not the building itself, they're not the cornerstone, but they were set at the beginning so that the whole structure could stand firm. But you know what, here's the logic. You don't keep, I'm not a builder, but from what I understand, you don't keep laying a foundation. Right? You lay it, and once it's laid, you build. A house with endless foundation laying never becomes a house. And so the apostles' office was never meant to be repeated. It was a gift for the beginning, a foundation strong enough to hold Christ's people through the ages. You can imagine walking through Burlington and seeing a site where workers are pouring a fresh slab every week, but you never see the frame of the house. At some point you'd ask, what are you doing? A foundation is not an end in itself. It's meant to hold up something. And in the same way, God laid the apostolic foundation once, and now he builds that living temple of his people on it. So Luke here makes this plain in verse 42. Look at chapter 2, verse 42 of Acts. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. The first Christians, they didn't rely on private impressions. Hey, brother, what's the Lord telling you the church should do? Sister, what do you feel in your heart right now? No, there was none of that. They didn't do it based on community consensus. They didn't gather the church together and say, okay, church, what do you think we should do about the ordinances? How do you want to do communion? They didn't do that. They went and they devoted themselves to a specific body of teaching, because the apostles were not sharing their spiritual musings or their intuitions. They were delivering what they had received from Christ.